Into Frickers in Fremont. It's the high school football coaches show on this week, number 4 of the high school football season. My name is Kyle Knight. We have lots of fun tonight. We're going to start with Gibsonburg Golden Bear night. Then we'll get into Oak Harbor football, Clyde, and Fremont Ross. That's all still to come. Don't forget, kids eat free here at Frickers every night with the adult dinner. But tonight, sirloin steak dinner for just $7.99. Also, tomorrow night we'll have the chicken chunk meal for $7.99. On Mondays, it's 79-cent boneless wings, and Tuesday, 89-cent traditional wings. Coming up this week on the BAS Sports Network on Eagle 99 Friday night, it's Toledo Whitmer at Fremont Ross. On 92.1 The Wolf, we'll have a really good game Friday night. St. Francis at Clyde. On WTTF Friday night, Columbus Watterson at Tiffin, Columbian, and LEC has Padua Franciscan at Sandusky, and on Coast Country, it's Canal Winchester Harvest Prep at Perkins. That should be a really good game Friday night as well. And Saturday, it's Sebring McKinley at Fremont St. Joe on Eagle 99. But as we said, it is Gibsonburg Golden Bear night, so we're going to start with head coach Joe Wyant. Then we'll talk with our captains. But those of you watching on the video stream, which you can find by simply going to our Facebook page, and the link is there, and you'll find the link to tonight's stream. So Joe and I are looking great, as we always are, right, Joe?
Yeah, right.
How are you this evening?
Good, real good.
Well, you guys, you started off, we talked after, the Ottawa Hills game, so it's been a couple weeks. So you got that win over Seneca East, 55-34. But let's talk about Edison, kind of a old-fashioned, low-scoring football game last week, 12-7. Obviously, you played up when you played Edison, but give me your thoughts on the game.
Oh, well, Edison, D5, and they're very good. They're a top 10 team in their division. And we played really well. We played really, really good defense, I thought. We got 3 turnovers against them. We had 1 turnover, I think. But we played real well. And even offensively, we had our chance. We had the ball down the 18 and couldn't get it in. But we played real well overall, and I'm happy with the effort that we put in.
Are they still doing the wing tee as well? Or are they moved on from that?
They're a little bit out of it. They run some, yeah. Okay. They run some. They ran some wing tee out of shotgun, wing tee stuff.
Jimmy Hall still there?
Yeah.
Is he really?
Wow. Well, it happened to be his 150th win, too.
Ooh,
so
well, I'm
nice
sorry,
afterwards.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
but he's been coaching a long time, man.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
So he's been running the same offense, kind of like what Gibsonburg's been running for a long time. So you actually get out of the non-conference at 2-1, and now, boy, your conference schedule, you start with Hopewell, Calvert, and Woodmore, Lakota, Willard, Margaretta, but you start with Hopewell and Calvert right off the top. Obviously, you'll be at Hopewell this week. So when you're watching film on Hopewell, what do you see in them?
Well, Hopewell's very good. They're probably maybe a nudge less talent than Edison,
okay.
but they're very good. They've won the league 3 years in a row now. This will be their 4th. They're by far the best team in our league. I can't see anybody beating them other than maybe ourselves. We got beat up a little bit last week, and a couple guys hurt. We got a lot of injuries right now, but hopefully they'll be back by Friday.
Are you okay? That's what I was going to answer. They will be hopefully back by Friday. Is that just because it was much more physical of a game?
Yeah, one of our better players, a running back and quarterback, plays quarterback some. He got an ankle sprain, upper ankle sprain. Our tight end, he's hobbling around on the same ankle he's been for 3 weeks now. So he's in out the game a lot. We got one of our major backups that plays a lot, especially on defense. He got a concussion, so he's out for sure.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was a physical game last week.
Obviously. We're going to talk with your captains here in just a little bit. Sitting behind us, if you're watching on the video stream, we have Camden Mooney. He is right there. All right. Grant Dawson. Wave, Grant. So right there. And then Antonio over my shoulder here. Let's talk about each of your senior captains here. We'll start with Camden. Senior, 6'1", 160 pounds. Talk about what he's meant to your program over the last 4 years.
Well, he like I said earlier in the season, I was asked, he's a coach on the field. He knows the plays inside and out. This is his third year being the starting quarterback. Now, when he doesn't quarterback this year, he plays split end some in the shotgun stuff. But Camden is real reliable. He understands the system. He understands me, which that really helps. So,
it does, really.
Yeah, and he makes up a lot of mistakes and sees them, and he can change some stuff at the line.
Well, your quarterback's an extension of you, right?
Yeah,
When he's out there. So let's talk about Grant, 6'1" senior, 180 pounds. Talk about him a little bit.
Well, Grant's a little bit of everything for us. He plays corner all the time, and he's gotten really good, and he's gained a lot of speed over the last couple of years. But he does a little bit of everything on offense. He can play split end. He plays both running back sides. He's got really good speed, and he's been making some big, huge plays for us this year.
And let's talk about Antonio. He leads you in tackles, obviously, with 27 solos, 5'7", 165 pounds. So is he playing a linebacker spot,
yeah, he's
getting all
one
those
of the
tackles?
Linebackers. Yeah, size-wise, he's undersized, but he plays hard. He's a very good wrestler, so he knows how to toughness and that. On offense, he plays one of our wing backs the last 2-3 years he's been on there. He in the past, he's been by far our best blocking wing back.
Okay.
So all the runs Connor Smith always got.
What's because of Antonio?
Was a lot because Antonio's blocking.
Okay.
And Antonio does a great job. He doesn't get a lot of carries because he's such a good blocker. He doesn't get the carries that the rest do, but he's very solid, aggressive, tough kid.
I was going to ask you, is Grant and Connor, are they related?
Yeah, that's his youngest brother.
Okay,
yes.
just wondered. I thought that was it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's. Real quick.
Sure.
You talked about how good Hopewell is. If anybody's going to beat them, it's going to be you guys. What's it going to take to do that on Friday night?
Well, we can't have turnovers, number one, and we have to move the football because they're going to complete some passes. They throw a lot. They throw more than they run, but we're going to have to move the football and score. And so it's up to the offense this week to do our share because they are going to complete some. We're not going to stop all the time.
Right.
We just need to stop them a few times and try to stay up with them offensively.
By the way, the Edison game, wasn't it 12-7 at halftime?
Yes.
So they just
Nothing.
Did you knock on the door at all?
Yeah,
or?
we was down to 18, and we turned the ball over.
Okay.
Well, we tried a field goal on fourth down, but missed that. But that was early in the middle third quarter. I think.
And you think you're going to get a lot more chance, but it just didn't happen. So.
No.
All right. Well, Coach, it's always good to see you. Joe Wyatt, head coach of the
Thank you.
Gibsonburg Golden Bears. We'll start with our Golden Bear night. Let's bring in Camden Mooney, our first senior captain here, 6'1", 160 pounds. While he's putting the headset on, I'll give you some stats about Camden so far this year. Camden has thrown 5 pass attempts, which you don't think that's a lot, but in the wing tee, that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
3 of 5 for 68 yards. Also has toted the rock 5 times as well. And so, first of all, welcome into Frickers.
Thank you.
Senior year, I'm sure you thought we'd have plenty of time. Here we are, week 4 of your senior year. So when back August 1st, when you started camp, what was your thought process going into your senior year?
I mean, I knew that it was all going to come to an end shortly. I mean, trying to make it as long as I possibly can, really. Go as deep as we can in the playoffs. Kind of just want to soak up every minute of it that I possibly can and spend all these last moments I get with all my boys, you know.
Can you believe we're almost at the halfway point of the regular season anyway?
It's crazy, honestly. I mean, it feels like it just flew by.
Right.
It feels like we just started two-a-days a couple days ago.
What did you make as your personal goals going into the year, Camden?
Definitely league championship this year. My sophomore year, we made it to the regional semis, and I for sure want to get back there and go farther.
That was
definitely
the best run in school history, by the way.
Yep.
Because there's been many playoff appearances by the Golden Bears over the years, just not a lot of playoff wins over the years.
Yeah.
So you guys made that wonderful run a couple years back. So let's talk about Hopewell. Obviously, they are the team. If you're going to win the league, you're going to have to beat them Friday night. What's it going to take to win?
I mean, we're all going to have to be locked in defensively, especially. They're amazingly coached. I mean, they all know exactly what they're going to do. They've really got it going on there, but we're going to have to play a great game. Everybody's got to stick together the whole game, and we got to keep our heads in the right places.
And it's at their place,
Mhm.
right? So a road contest. And then does it get any easier? You got Calvert the following week.
No,
so.
definitely not.
So the top two predicted dogs you get right off the bat. So good chance to make some statements the next couple weeks,
definitely.
right? And the good thing is you get Calvert at home. So looking at the rest of the year, you talked about making a deep playoff run. What else? What else for your senior year? Not just football, but let's talk about goals for your senior year, and then what's going to happen after your senior year.
I mean, I'm still kind of figuring out what I want to do after I graduate. I think I'm definitely going to go to school somewhere. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do just yet, but I'm figuring that out just one day at a time.
Well, enjoy your senior year, that's for sure. All right, Camden Mooney, anything you want to say or shout out to anybody?
Shout out my mom. Shout out my baby sister, Emery.
All right, thanks, Camden.
Yep, have a good night.
All right, good luck this week. All right, we'll bring in Grant Dawson next. Grant is a senior, 6'1", 180-pound captain for the Gibsonburg Golden Bears. And for Grant, he right now has 9 solo tackles on the year. Also has 8 carries, 129 yards. So, Grant, how's your senior season going so far?
It's going pretty well. I think we're doing well, and we're having a great time.
Right. So, close one with Edison last week, right there. It's great, though, that you're playing bigger schools like that, right, to get ready for the playoffs, because that's really what it's all about is conference and then the playoffs. So you guys had that great experience a couple years ago. Camden was talking about. What would it mean to have another playoff run like that your senior year, though?
If we could make another playoff run like that, like this year instead of my sophomore year, that would be great. That'd be awesome. Because since my senior year and our senior year, we really want to make a run and really make a statement with how good we are.
Well, Grant, what did you make as your goals coming into the year?
My goals coming into the year, I wanted to help the team and do what's best for the team. Like Coach has said, I've been put everywhere on offense, and I try to do as much as I can to help our team.
Right. Do you like being in the wing T offense?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Well, you guys grow up with it. It's not like it's different.
Like
you've run this since Pee Wee football, right? So it's not like if somebody came in and tried to install the spread, you'd be like, it could be a foreign language, right? So what are you going to do after graduation?
After I graduate, I do high jump and track, and I've been trying to talk to coaches about that. And I was also when I go into college, I was going to major in pre-law and political science.
Okay. Have you thought about any schools yet or anything like that?
I've been talking to a couple schools, but I've just been trying to talk to them, get visits, stuff like that.
Well, it's still early. All right, Grant Dawson, anybody else you want to shout out, Grant?
Shout out my mom and dad, shout out my sister Ava, and shout out my brother Alex in Boston.
All right. Is he watching?
I don't know.
He can watch watch it back if he's not watching. All right, Grant. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll bring in Antonio Salazar here on this Gibsonburg Golden Bear night. Antonio, a 5'7" senior, 165 pounds, leading the team right now, 27 solo tackles. Love it. Antonio, how are you, buddy?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Good. So you're 5'7", you lead the team in tackles.
Yeah.
So you're obviously like playing the linebacker position.
Yeah.
Why?
I feel like it's just more of I was just growing up like wrestling. It's obviously a physical sport, and I feel like I just am aggressive. I can read guards. I know where the ball's going most of the time, and I was like hitting people.
What is it with Gibsonburg and wrestlers that are, that go on to play football and do well? It's kind of a thing over there.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling. When I was growing up, our wrestling team was always pretty solid, and it's kind of shallowed away because not as many people come out for it. But I'm trying to get more people into it.
So 165 pounds at 5'7". What do you play offensively, Antonio?
I play wingback.
Wingback, right? 9 carries for 57 yards so
Yeah.
far. So going into your senior year, what were some of the goals you laid out?
Obviously, my sophomore year was probably one of the best runs that we've had in school history. I kind of just wanted to repeat that. I feel like you'll need more going the same distance as we did my sophomore year as a senior.
When you were a sophomore, and I'm sure you guys can answer this as well, but you think it's going to happen every year at that point, right? Like you kind of take it for granted.
Yeah.
Like you got 2 more years.
Yeah.
And so the seniors are like, oh, this ain't going to happen. You're like, oh, it'll happen every year. But so this is your chance. You guys got a pretty good team to make that run this year, don't you think?
Yeah.
So what is your after college look like, or after high school, I'm sorry, Antonio?
I kind of want to go into the local 8
Okay.
in the Union. I'm currently at Vanguard
Okay.
up here in Fremont. I'm in the electrical class, so I feel like that's somewhere I'd want to follow.
These guys, they got to figure it out. See, you get that paid for. The high school education
Heck yeah.
is your post-degree education. Then you start making money after. Yeah, he's got to figure it out. I love it. The guys that go to Vanguard, you got to figure it out. So, all right, Antonio, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Camden and Grant, thanks, guys. Shout-outs? Any other shout-outs?
Shout out to my mom and dad, and shout out Gibsonburg football team.
All right, we'll take a break, and we'll come back. We're at Frickers in Fremont, Gibsonburg, Golden Bear Night. Get out and support the Golden Bears Friday. They'll be at Hopewell. You're listening to the Frickers of Fremont High School Football Coaches Show here on Eagle 99. On Eagle 99, Toledo Whitmer at Fremont Ross. On the Wolf, St. Francis at Clyde. On WTTF, it's Watterson at Columbian. LEC has Padua at Sandusky. And on Coast Country this week, Harvest Prep at Perkins. And then Saturday, it's Sebring McKinley at Fremont St. Joe. We're going to talk some Oak Harbor Rocket football with longtime head coach Mike May. Division 5, Region 18. Mike off to a 3-0 start. How many years, Mike, has it been that you've been the head coach now?
17.
17. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So you've seen many a conference changes, really.
Yeah.
Like, because you started in the
we were in the SBC.
SBC.
Yep.
And then you were in the SBC NOL merge, technically, right? And
Right,
now
right.
here we are in our new
NBC.
conference in the NBC. So you've kind of seen a little bit of everything. I guess, was last year a little different for you, being in the NBC?
It was. A lot of those teams in the NBC we had played already previously, some in
Right.
non-league, some we met in the playoffs, like Eastwood, for example. And we're very familiar with them.
In Genoa, obviously.
In Genoa.
Your
And
rival.
you look, and you look in the other sports, at Oak Harbor, we always had played the NBC schools. So it was different being a new league, but I think it was a good move for Oak Harbor.
I know we did I actually broadcast the Oak Harbor Genoa basketball game in conference last year, and it was great because the buzz was a little different. You get to play them twice, and
Sure.
Basketball is a little different. So, so you're off to a 3-0 start. Bowsher, Woodward, and then beating your other rival. Speaking of, you got Port Clinton as well, 42-7 last week. So you get into it this week. You go right into things with Maumee. But let's talk about the non-conference. How'd you feel things went?
I thought we wanted to come out of our non-conference 3-0, which we were able to accomplish. Port Clinton last week, It was a tight ball. The game was closer than what the final score indicated. It was 7-7 midway through the second quarter.
Okay.
We intercepted a pass, kind of got the momentum back, but they had us on our heels. Their quarterback ripped off a 75-yard touchdown right away. They recovered an onside kick. So we were back on our heels, and it was good for us. We weren't really tested the first 2 weeks, and then we had to overcome some adversity against Port Clinton, and we're up like 21-7 at half and then we're able to come out and close it out in the third quarter. But it was good for us to have some adversity to work through. And, real positive was our senior class has played a lot of football.
Yes.
There were 3-year starters in that group and a 4-year starter. So they've seen it all.
Mm-hmm.
So even though when things weren't going well last Friday night, they were calm and just kept playing hard, and eventually things turned our way.
So you had a 10-0 regular season last year. When they were freshmen, weren't you 10-0 that year too? Or
That would have been 19 was the last time we were
10-0.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
So
before-
you've had some great teams over the years, but last year obviously made a nice deep tournament run. What was coming back this year? How much did you have coming back from that team from a year ago?
We graduated some guys up front. We had one returning starter back on our offensive line, defensive line. Also, we had some playmakers at the skill positions. Shakai Hayward was one that graduated. But we had a lot of our skill guys are back. Our quarterback's a 3-year starter, Michael Alland. Carson Reitner in the backfield. We have some receivers that played quite a bit last year. So replacing the guys up front was probably our biggest challenge. And so far they've gelled together really well. We've been really pleased with our play up front, and so that was probably the biggest thing coming in was building depth on the offensive defensive lines.
Would you rather replace skill or the line?
We always need linemen. So no matter what the skill positions are, I believe the most important position in football are offensive, defensive lines.
Right.
But they've come on, and we've been really pleased with them so far.
Well, obviously they've probably been in the weight room already, and they were just kind of waiting their turn, right? So,
Right.
And that's when you build a program like this. That's obviously the next man up mentality. So, Maumee, you've looked at them; they're 3-0, and they've pretty much gone through their schedule pretty easily. They beat Springfield, Bryan, and Bousher, but they're kind of in the same situation you are. It's hard to find people want to play a Division V football team who's really good on Friday night in the non-conference, right?
Well, they tell you, Maumee they look really good. They were like us. They lost some linemen from last year, but all their skill position players are back, and they're very talented. Their coach here is doing a great job, and they got their numbers up, and they're excited. So we're expecting a playoff environment with them being 3-0. It's been a while since they've been 3-0. So they're really excited with their program, and so I think it's going to be a great night. It's my first time being over at Maumee for a game, so that'll be a new experience.
And they're Division III.
They are Division
for playoffs. That means that's a big deal.
It is, yeah, it really is, and I'm expecting a great game Friday night.
Are they the biggest school in the
They
NBC?
are, yes,
Okay.
yes, they are.
So they're the only Division III school.
They're the only Division III. We have a couple Division IV, and then
Fours.
everybody else is 5.
It's kind of just the area you're at with the Toledo kind of
Yes.
surrounding area.
Yep.
So going into the year, did you guys do a preseason poll or anything like that?
We did. We were picked to preseason finish first. That I don't put a whole lot of stock in that. I don't know if most coaches do. It's fun for the communities and the
Right.
media to talk about and that, but that just means we tell our kids every day basically that it means we have a bullseye on our back and we're going to get everybody's best shot. And we saw that last Friday with Port Clinton. Port Clinton threw everything at us, played extremely hard. Their crowd was really into it. It was a hostile environment, and we had to work through that. And we're going to face that pretty much every week now that we're in league play.
What I love about Oak Harbor, and we're talking with Mike May, the longtime head coach of the Rockets, is you have not one rival, but you get the 2 rivals. So you got your Port Clinton, you got Genoa, so no matter, you got either one. So.
Yeah, and that's one of our biggest goals is to protect our borders. We talk about that all the time, and Genoa is always tough. And Port Clinton, we always get their best shot every year.
And do you see programs like, Fostoria's been down for a lot, do you see things getting better with some of the schools at the bottom part of the
I
conference?
tell you what was amazing last year, the 8th grade classes in the NBC are phenomenal.
Really?
Phenomenal.
So you had a lot of good 8th grade football then.
So this year's freshman classes at virtually every school is really, really good.
Okay,
I believe
that's
Fostoria won the league last year in freshmen.
That's awesome.
Otsego has like 30 kids on their freshman team. They're loaded. And you go up and down the line. Right now, in the next couple years here.
Could be a coin flip. Isn't it?
Absolutely. Going to be very good.
That's wonderful. So I alluded to, so you had to play Boucher and Woodward. Obviously, you're going to play Port Clinton pretty much every year, but is it just really hard to find teams that want to play you?
I mean, it can be, but we're looking at we're probably going to have a new Week 1 opponent next year, kind of working on that.
Okay.
But we're looking at some of the old SBC teams also that we'd played previously. We have some good rivalries with them. So, it's nice for us being in, and that was one of the draws of positive things going into the NBC is it being an 8-team league. You have those 3 non-league games,
right,
which I think for football is really ideal.
Perfect.
So it gives you some flexibility there. And Port Clinton was obviously a game we wanted to keep with the rivalry. We've played them for decades. So. So yeah, we're just really happy just to be 3-0 going into league. Really.
Yeah, a lot of teams, look at Fremont Ross. They play 5 non-conference games.
Mm-hmm.
All the SBC teams are playing.
That, yeah.
So we have Clyde and which will be a great game. I look forward to St. Francis.
Right.
We were talking. Nick did the game with me a couple of weeks ago. Clyde and Start. Toledo Start is a lot. They've always been athletic, but they got some boys this year.
Do
Yeah,
they?
Clyde had a little problem with them early on, just early on, and
Right.
then took over.
Right.
But at least I found it funny too that Lima Senior actually won the City League last year. That just kind of shows you the times we're living at. That
Right.
Lima Senior won the Toledo City League.
Yeah.
So let's kind of break down your team a little bit. Let's talk about some of the players. You alluded to it a little bit, but talk about offensively. We talked about those some of the linemen. We'll talk names here in a little bit, but let's talk about your skill guys, some of the key people.
Yeah, well, I mentioned Michael Alond, our 3-year starter quarterback. He brings a lot of confidence to us. You can look at any team that is a successful football team, and typically they have a guy at the quarterback position that just brings confidence to everybody, makes everybody better around him. He's that guy for us. We have a 1-2 punch at tailback with Carson Reidner and Blake Nickel. Those guys, Carson had over 100 yards last Friday, and Blake, I think, was at 92.
Wow.
So we had some pretty good balance there. We have good core receivers, Tyler Thompson, Braden Butzine, Brady Losey. Cooper Schultz is now a younger guy that's in there and starting for us now. So good group of receivers. One nice thing is our track program's doing very well right now, and all those guys are playing football. So we have a lot of team speed, probably the most team speed we've had in a long time. And then up front, we're really coming on. Our one returning starter on offense was Isaac Schulte, and he's having a phenomenal year. He's 6'2", about 260.
Big boy, man.
Yeah, and Alex Reif is our other tackle. He's 6'3", about 290 or so. And then Ryder Lindsay. And the other guy, Jake Reidner, we didn't play him a lot on offense last year, but he's 2-time All-State defensive end. And so he's a starter this year at guard and doing a phenomenal job, tough kid. And then Logan McKittrick, senior at center, taking over there, and he's a good-sized kid too, about 230. So we have good size up there, and those guys really gel together. We're still trying to build depth, as the season goes. But real happy with where we're at offensively.
I was kind of looking at your numbers before we talk defense. So about 10, 11 seniors, it looks like.
Yes.
And about the same junior class. Yeah, pretty much spread out between the classes.
Yeah,
so
we have 66 on our roster, so for us that's pretty good numbers. Big freshman class, about 23
really
freshmen.
Big. Are you doing a full you talked about these freshman teams in the NBC. Are a lot of them doing full freshman schedules, or most of them just
some
playing
are,
JV?
and it varies a little bit as we go during the season because injuries happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have full freshman team, full JV team, so
that's great.
Those guys are able to get a lot of reps in
and
during
at
the week.
D5, that's wonderful that you can
absolutely.
do that. Let's talk about your defense and some of the guys that make that run for you.
Yeah, well, Michael Alon, he's kind of our quarterback on defense also. He's our starting free safety, again, a 3-year starter.
And you're okay with that. So some coaches
absolutely.
don't do it because they're trying to protect the quarterback. You're saying he's a great athlete. We need him out there on defense.
He's too much of a competitor and too much of an athlete to keep on the sideline, so we knew we had to play him. And,
okay.
Carson Reidner, as a linebacker, he's a 4-year starter. He started kind of out at strong safeties freshman, we moved him inside his sophomore year. Travis Boyer is also back inside. Our one defensive lineman that was returning, I already mentioned, was Jacob Reidner. He's been two-time All-State. He already
Right.
has 6 sacks on the season already.
In 3 games.
So, yeah,
Wow.
so he's a sack machine. And Brady Losey, Brandon Butzine are back on the outside. Tyler Thompson's a starter at corner also. And then other guys up front. Hayden McGee's doing a great job inside at a defensive tackle, and Blake Nickel, that part of that 1-2 punch we have at tailback, is starting at the other DN. So we feel like we're pretty athletic, pretty good size inside, which we want our defensive line. And it's nice we have 7 starters back on defense this year, and it's like having like 7 coaches out there because they played a lot of football.
Well, Mike, 7 of your seniors are 3-year letter winners already. That's amazing.
Yeah, this senior class, they've led us. We've won. We've been fortunate to win the league the last 2 years. We're back-to-back league champs.
And you should mention that's 2 different leagues.
2 different leagues. So that was a big goal we had. We wanted to win our last conference championship in the SBC and the first one in NBC. And so these guys have an opportunity here. They're competing for a league championship for 3 years in a row, and they're a great senior class. They're great leaders, good character kids, and it's been a lot of fun. Like this has been a season so far where every day is fun to go to practice. So we really enjoy it.
You brought up a point. You've never coached a game at Maumee. Well, a lot of these kids probably have never played because you played home. The teams you're playing away
Right.
this year, so
Yeah.
like Lake, Otsego, some of these schools they probably haven't played at. So it's kind of cool that you get to experience some new venues as well because they're so used to playing all the SBC schools.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, it's better bragging rights because you got more kids you can brag up against. So, wow. So, Mike, Division 5, Region 18. Talk about your region and who else is in there.
Our region is really good. You look back to last year, and it was probably, I would say, maybe one of the toughest regions in the state. It's very similar to that this year. Coldwater is out of our region, which is obviously one of the top teams in it last year. But there's a lot of really good teams. Liberty Center, Edison, you go right down the line. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. So we really this time of year not really focusing on that.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously everybody's the same. We're trying to just get better every day and focus on who's in front of us. But we know once we get to the postseason that it's going to be tough, and there'll be a lot of tough matchups in our region.
I'm also wondering, when you started coaching, how many teams made the playoffs in each region? Was it 4 then?
Since I've been when I first started coaching, it was 4.
Okay.
Then it went obviously to 8.
Right.
And,
Now 16,
Now
but-
we're at 16. But
So what's your thoughts on that? Like,
I like it because I think the more young people that can experience playoff football, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know you get some uneven matchups in week 1, and that's been a topic of conversation. But the postseason is just different, and it's special. And so that's been my feeling on it. I was all for it when they expanded it to you get more kids, being able to go week 11, week 12. I think it's a bonus.
I do too. More kids, like you said, the more kids that get experience, it's maybe they'll
once
keep going.
football is one of those sports too. Is when it's over for most kids.
Right.
So, the more opportunities we can give them to play high school football, the better. I think.
All right, Mike. Thank you as always
absolutely. Thanks for having me.
driving on
Appreciate it.
over and talking high school football with us. And
Thank you.
there's that. And anything else you want to pass along to our listeners?
No, I just appreciate what you guys do and appreciate the opportunity to come talk Rocket football.
All right,
Thank you.
Mike May, head coach of the Oak Harbor Rockets. They're going to play a big one Friday night as they'll travel to Maumee, a battle of undefeated for first place there in the NBC. Obviously, it'll be the first NBC game for both teams. We are live here at Frickers in Fremont. Don't forget, tonight it is sirloin steak night. You can get that for $7.99, the sirloin steak dinner, and tomorrow night chicken chunk meal for $7.99. We'll be back with more from Frickers in Fremont. It's the High School Football Coaches Show on Eagle 99. Welcome back into Frickers in Fremont, the high school football coaches show. You can also watch us on our live stream. Just go to our Facebook page for Eagle 99. You'll find the link to the feed right there. We're going to talk Clyde football with head coach Ryan Carter. The Clyde Flyers off to a 3-0 start. Wins over Bellevue, Start, and Toledo Waite. We didn't do the game last week at Waite, Ryan, so just kind of tell us a little bit about the win over Toledo Waite, 42-0 last week.
You know, not an easy place to go play. You know, you take a long trip and you know, not a whole lot of atmosphere other than the Clyde people we brought. So,
right.
And they, you know, to be honest with you, they weren't very good offensively. They could do some things defensively, but weren't very sound in the special teams. They weren't very good offensively. So we got off to a good start. They fumbled the first play that they had it offensively, so we were able to punch one in right off the get up 7-0, and you know, just kind of take care of business. And that's, you know, it's one of the things you want to make sure you do. You know, when you're on the road like that against a Toledo City League team, you want to be able to put them out early and get some of your young kids in and try to get out of that game and stay healthy. Work on your stuff, get some work in, but get out of there healthy and with a win, and we were able to do that.
Let's go back to the week before the Start game, which we broadcast the Start in the Bellevue game on the Wolf, but Start came out, you scored, and then they had that really long kickoff return. So they kind of punched it right back. You went back, punched them. That first quarter was, 14-14 at the end? It was a good game at the end.
They actually returned another kick.
Yes,
They got called back.
It got called back, yeah.
But, you know, and that opened our eyes a little bit. You know, we have to shore up some special team stuff, you know, because that'll cost you down the road against good teams. And you know, we were fortunate to be able to move the ball at will against Start. So, you know, we could figure a few of those things out. But if you get into a tight game and you're giving up special teams touchdowns, it's going to hurt you down the road.
Yeah, you don't want to give up not one, but two in one game, that's for sure. So St. Francis this week, obviously a really good football team, 2-1. You're playing way up this week. They're Division 2?
Yeah.
So you're Division 4 playing Division 2. What have you seen in St. Francis?
Well, you turn the film on and you see it's kind of funny. You know, we signed them kind of a last-minute deal. We were searching for a team, and they ended up dropping a team from the Toledo or the Detroit City League.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly who it was, and they opened up, and I thought, you know, you looked at them, you knew they were bigger than us. You knew they would always have athletes. They've went through some coaching turmoil, some turnover, and then you think, okay, their record wasn't great last year. They lost to a few teams that we played. But then you turn the film on this year, and they got different kids out there.
Well, they always do.
They always do. and that's kind of the MO of what we've come to expect from St. Francis. So you flip the film on, and all of a sudden we're getting ourselves ready this week, and you know, we're going to go out there on Friday and see what we can do.
I'm excited to call this one. I think it's going to be a fun game. Now, you have some familiarity with these guys. You just played them a couple years back, a home and away.
Yeah, we had a 4-year sign just like we do now, because we're going to play them for 4 years straight.
Starting now?
Yeah, this is year one. Then we go to the Glass Bowl 2 years in a row.
Okay.
And then we come back to us for the 4th year.
Okay.
We had that sign before, played the first end of that.
And COVID hit.
And then COVID hit.
Right.
So we missed a couple of those games in the middle.
Right.
And then ended up playing them again right before we were done. So we only got one trip up to the Glass Bowl and one at our place.
And you won at your place and lost a close game at their place.
That is
so,
correct.
Yeah.
We lost down the stretch, and they kind of wore us out that night. And that's one of the things that we are worried about. They have a lot of guys that are specialized in offense or defense, one-way players, and we have a ton of kids that go both ways. So, you know, you hope for the weather was going to cooperate. Well, it looks like it's going to be warm again. So you hope that your kids can battle it out for 4 quarters, because we haven't played a 4-quarter game yet. And you know, that's one of our worries.
Let me ask you about your weather Friday night. Ours was miserable in Shelby. It rained nonstop the whole game, and I just felt bad for the kids.
It was incredible. You know, we went up to Toledo. It rained on our way up there, and we're prepared for it. I got my rain gear with me, and my coaches do. And we got up there, get in the locker room, and it was still misting a little bit. And it shut off, and it was sunny and 75 the entire night. And I get on my way home, and I'm getting texts from my friends of, well, this game was miserable. It rained all night. Sandusky rained all night. Shelby rained all night. I said, we didn't get a lick of rain up there. We got none. So actually going that way to Toledo that night was actually good for us.
Well, I remember you played Start several years ago when I was doing all the Ross games, and it was a weather night here, but you guys missed the weather because it went through before you played, and you got your game in, and you were fine that night because you were in Toledo, which is one benefit sometimes of playing
going that
in Toledo,
way.
but not always because
No.
sometimes you can get hit and these guys don't.
Yeah.
So
Well, it worked out for us because it was beautiful up there.
Okay.
And honestly, with Waite, once you get inside the stadium, it's not a bad atmosphere. It's that old school concrete
Right.
stadium type. So our kids, and they have brand new turf, so it's nice. I mean, so our kids were not thrown off at all by playing up there.
Well, let's talk about the Clyde Flyers in 2024. And one guy we're going to start with, because we always talk offense, right? But the first game we did this year, I was just flabbergasted watching this kid on defense. But can you talk to me about Hector Garza?
Yeah.
Because he is all over the field on defense, buddy.
Hector is a sophomore for us, and we came into this year knowing that he was going to be a good football player. He's the second strongest kid on our team pound-wise.
Okay.
When we do our lifting tests at the start of the year, he had the second most pounds on our team as a sophomore. So we knew, he was a put-together kid, but we really didn't have a set position. He's a running back, and we knew he was going to play defense for us somewhere, but we started him at outside linebacker. It was a little bit too much for him, a little bit too much coverage. And then good and bad, right? Our starting inside linebacker went down with an injury. And we're not going to have him anymore. But we needed to move a kid. And we thought, you know what? Let's see what Hector can do in there. And he goes out the first week against Bellevue and has 15 tackles and was absolutely everywhere. So he's kind of fallen into his niche there in the inside. And
I said his name so many times in that Bellevue game, and I'm like, who is this kid,
Yep.
So I felt good for him that night.
And the thing about Hector is, man, he is a phenomenal kid. He works extremely hard at everything he does for us. Obviously, he's a put-together, strong, physical kid. And we hopefully can have him for the next couple of years at our Mike linebacker because he's fallen into that niche and he's pretty good at it.
He's wonderful.
Yeah.
So injuries were the big key last year. After week 3, you were decimated. So after week 3 this year, where are we at?
Well, we talked about it this week because this was the week last year that we lost. I lost my quarterback, 2 wide receivers, 2 linemen, a linebacker, and a DB all in the same game. And for us at Clyde, you just can't withstand that.
Right.
I have good young kids coming up, and we have good depth. But when you lose Brennan Wilson, Braden Olson, Alex Krensline, those kids are all significant roles on both sides of the ball, and we just couldn't withstand it.
Right.
I said this going in at the first show over here this year. Part of that was on me, and I'll take full responsibility for that. When those kids went down in last year, I was still trying to run the same stuff that I was running with those kids with the new kids, and it just wasn't a good fit.
Okay.
And we didn't figure that out until late, to where we really simplified it. We changed some things, and we were a much better football team at the end of the year because of it. We were competitive in games because of the change of scheme on both sides of the ball, and that's tough. You work on something all the way from the summer on,
Right.
and you get into a couple games, and things go well for the first couple of weeks, and then some kids go down. You don't want to just scrap the whole thing and go back to, getting under center and running it 45 times a game.
Right.
But that was what was best for our team last year, and it took us a while to figure it out. But we're getting there. We, knock on wood, we've been able to stay away. I lost Deacon, my starting Mike, this year at the start of the year to a shoulder injury. But outside of that, we haven't had too many major injuries where kids are out for a long period of time. Cam Shortridge is a very good player for us. He did not play last week against Waite, but he'll be back this week.
Okay. So 2 weeks ago, I was very impressed. Obviously, Start had all kinds of cramping issues. You guys had none.
Yeah, we do our best to trick our kids. We tell them it must be something in the Green Springs water, because all of our kids go to school over there at some point in time.
Right.
So we tell them that you get that Springs water in you and you don't cramp. So our kids aren't allowed to cramp. Is what we tell them.
They didn't, though.
And we didn't. And we listen. I have a great trainer in Allison Hoops. Reisman. She just got married. She won't yell at me for not saying her name the correct way. She's probably not listening anyways. But,
Right.
we have a great trainer that really works with our kids on hydration. We do all the little things with pickle juice and the Gatorade packs that we really try to keep them as hydrated as possible. And knock on wood, it has worked out for us. But we're gonna have. It looks like for the next couple of weeks, it's still gonna be pretty hot. So we're
Yes.
gonna have dehydration and cramping issues for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, you got
hopefully
lucky.
We can avoid.
Obviously, you got lucky last week with no
Yeah.
rain and a nice night. But
Yeah.
well, it won't be 90 though, like it was
Correct.
that night.
Correct.
That was a warm. That was probably the warmest game I've done in years. I remember when Sandusky and Perkins opened up the new stadium, and I was on Fandy, and we did that game, and I soaked
Is that like
through.
a Thursday night?
It was Friday,
Was-
but it was
or-
so
oh, was
hot
it?
and muggy and humid.
Yeah.
And I just and Brown. There we had Browns players there. It was
Yeah.
really cool. But I lost a shirt
Yeah.
because I just soaked right through it.
Well, I
so.
tell you what, Friday, the start
2
game,
weeks ago, yeah.
2 weeks ago, we came out for pregame, and there was a little bit of, we knew it was going to be hot, but there was a little bit of a breeze, and I was like, okay, it's hot, but it's not terrible. We kicked off, it felt like we kicked off, the wind stopped, and it was rough.
Yeah.
It was rough down there.
And you were on the turf.
Yeah.
We opened up the door in the press box, which we never do, just to try to see if we can get air to flow
Something
through, but
moved through
nothing
there.
works.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
all right. So, how nice is it? You got Brendan back, but here's the thing: you also got Jonathan Lance, who was in there sometimes at quarterback,
Yep.
and then Brendan plays a different position.
Yep.
So you got some versatility there.
It is, and one of the things about getting kids hurt is you other kids are thrust into roles, and he was last year. Johnny was thrust into a role that he wasn't quite ready for last year, but he got valuable playing time and really, really improved in the offseason. And I tell you what, we went into this season thinking, man, I just can't sit him the entire year as a backup quarterback and play him on JV.
Right.
We need to do some things with him. So, I searched around, went to some clinics, found some things, and using these two quarterbacks at the same time has been effective for us. We don't, Brennan's our main guy, but Johnny goes in there and does some things that are different than what Brennan does, and also you can use Brennan with his athleticism at some different positions. So, knock on wood, it's been good for us so far. We'll get the true test about it tomorrow night. Though.
Yeah, it will be a true test. I want to ask you a question about Price, okay? Okay. So for those who are listening, Price is your son,
Yep,
right?
yep.
So he created, we'll just say he had a miscue in the game a couple weeks ago, and Dad had to talk to him one-on-one.
Yep.
What are these conversations like? It can't be fun, but because you're part dad, you're part coach. You're all
Yeah.
coach at that point, but
Yeah.
it just I just always wonder what it's like in that situation.
I tell you what, it has been an absolute pleasure being able to get to this point where I can coach him, on a Friday night and have him with me every day in practice. He's with me tonight on the radio show. He's sitting out there. He gets a free meal out of it.
Right.
But that's why he's here. He's not here to hang out with Dad. But, just having him around and the things that he's been able to do for us, he is not he's not the most gifted athletic kid in the world. But he has worked at it, and it's just fun having him around. He has fell into a nice niche and role at that wide receiver
He
position. And in the start game, I joked with him on film. We went home that night and watched it, and I said if there was 5 more yards left in that game, they were going to run you down because I don't think you had 5 more yards left in you before they caught you. And he of course told me he had at least 10 to 15.
He had 10,
more.
of course, yeah.
But it's been awesome. There's been times where you have to, you got to jump on him just like any other kid. But there's those moments when you get on the sidelines and you could spend that couple of enjoyable moments after a win or before a game with your son. It's pretty special.
And you're blessed at that wideout position to have so many athletes. You talk about Cam took the week off last week, but yeah, I mean you got Cedric there, you got Jackson, Price. We talked about Mason Fluelling. Oh, by the way, let's talk about Mason because I called this one. What was that? 2 weeks ago. Nick said so. I said, no, they're gonna put Mason in. It's gonna be a quarterback draw, boom, boom. Just because I saw it the week before,
Yeah.
and he was so impressed that I called the play. But anyway, that's really worked out nice for you there.
You know, we got a couple of kids that really play that, tight end type bump position for us with him and Cole Senstock that are just really versatile players in the fact that they block really well, but you can send them out in patterns. You can also, Mason played some quarterback for us, so he does a little bit of wildcat for us. So just having that versatility with kids that can do multiple roles makes it way more difficult to defend you.
Now let's talk about the beef up front because they need to get their flowers as well. Talk about some of the kids who've been playing really well up front for you.
Honestly, I'm going to name them all.
Okay, good.
Because up front on both sides of the ball was a huge question mark for us this year. We knew we had some skilled kids. Like you said, we have a ton of wide receivers. I have kids that aren't even playing wide receiver right now that could be.
Right.
But up front, we knew we were light. We were thin, and we didn't have a whole lot of experience and depth up there. But you take Gavin Boggs at center. Him, Cadence Cooksey, and Jaden Minch have all played center this year for us. Michael Scruggs, Jaden Michaels, Cooksey they've all mixed in at guards. Brady Dukeshire and Alex Krinsline have been mainstays at tackle. We've had a few kids really step up for us this year that weren't offensive linemen that you're like, okay, we need some extra help. And a kid like Caden Perkins, who's a defensive player and a special teams player, said, yeah, Coach, I'll try to play offensive tackle for us to give us some depth in that position. So up front, our kids have really bought into, doing what's best for the team. And, I played offensive line in college. It's an unsung position. You just don't get the accolades that everybody else does.
Right.
You're not scoring the touchdowns, but without those guys, you really don't have a team.
Yeah. What you guys did in week one was really impressive. Were you super impressed with the kids after week one?
I was. You never know till you turn the Friday night lights on, right? You don't know how they're going to respond. We had a ton of kids that had I said it was kind of weird. We had a ton of kids that had experience but missed out a lot of games last year and were coming back, kind of had that first game feeling. Mm-hmm. And not just because it was the first game against Bellevue, but they hadn't played in so long.
Right.
And they were super excited to get out there, and I thought we executed well. And anytime you can go to Bellevue, get a win against your rival on the road.
And shut them out.
And shut them out and do it the way we did it was a good night for us.
We're talking with Ryan Carter, head coach of the Clyde Flyers here at Frickers and Fremont on our high school football coaches show. So let's talk about Friday night a little more X's and O's since we're doing that game on 92.1 The Wolf with St. Francis. For the Flyers to be 4-0, what's it going to take offensively? We'll start there.
Well, I think you have to keep their offense off the field. So you have to move the football. You have to get first downs. You have to convert third down opportunities. And you really can't turn it over. They're so explosive. They've had a ton of plays over 50 yards this year where, it doesn't look like they're going anywhere. They're hemmed in, and somebody misses a tackle, and one of their fast kids is taking it for 60 yards. So I think you really have to grind it out offensively. You got to make plays when they give them to you. And then defensively, you just have to tackle in space. You have to rally to the football. All 11 guys got to run to the football, and you really have to you got to tackle well because they're elusive, they're fast, and their big kids are pretty good up front to get in your way a little bit. So,
have you been pleased with the tackling overall so far?
It's so funny you say that. We were just talking the other day. Every coach does it different, right? But we don't do a ton of tackling in the preseason or in practice. We tackle dummies. We tackle tackling rings. We tackle drag dummies because I just can't. I was a little snake bit last year with kids getting hurt.
Right. So
you want to try to not get those kids hurt in practice.
Right.
So you worry about that going in. You worry, are we going to be able to tackle live people? And we've been fairly good at it so far. Now, again, this week's going to be a whole different animal.
Real test this week.
We'll see.
And you got Port Clinton. So that'll be a good one next week.
They're going to be good, too, yeah. So we're super excited. It's Military Appreciation Night for us on Friday night. So we're going to have a lot of pregame activities going on and a lot of stuff with the military. We're going to wear our military uniforms. So super excited to represent the military. We had the Army come in this summer and do a boot camp with our kids. So we got a pretty good connection with that group. And they're going to come on Friday night and support us, and we're looking forward to it.
We were looking forward to doing the game as well. So hopefully it's another Clyde victory.
Well, let's hope. Let's
get
hope.
to 4-0. So, all right, Ryan Carter.
Thank you very much.
I think it's Flyer night next week, right?
It is Flyer night here next.
And I'll be
next
here
week.
again next week. So.
Awesome. We will be here, and I'll have my 5 guys with me.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you very much.
All right, Ryan Carter, head coach of the Clyde Flyers, and like he said, it will be Flyer night next week, and you can hear the Clyde game Friday night on Sister Station 92.1 The Wolf with Nick and myself. And, boy, it's going to be a good one Friday night. We're looking forward to that one. All right, we're going to talk Fremont Ross football. I swear to you, I have not talked to this guy, Chad Longan, since I was not the voice of the Purple Raiders anymore. So it's going to be fun to sit down and talk with him for the first time in a couple years. And we'll do that next here at Frickers in Fremont. It's the High School Football Coaches Show on Eagle 99. To Frickers in Fremont. Sorry about that. I lost my back feed, so I couldn't hear that we were back on. Chad Long joining me now. We're going to talk some Fremont Ross football. And Chad, first of all, it's great to see you, buddy.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
It's been a while. It's definitely nice to see you back.
So I was talking about the new conference, and we were talking how we were excited about the new conference, but the way things shake out, it's just so weird because you play all these big schools to start with.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, you got to stay healthy. I mean, that's make it through the big 3 at the beginning and the big division, and then wham, we're right in our conference, and we start off with, in my mind, the best team, Napoleon, and then we turn around and we play Clay, and then we play Southview. And then Bowling, Wait
and then Bowling Green.
Bowling Green.
Yeah.
So it's not easy. It's you gotta have depth. You gotta be able to stay healthy and be able to, just rug it through this entire schedule that we have.
How is your depth?
Right now, not really good.
You're pretty banged up.
Yeah, we are, and we're probably down our best football player this week and maybe next week, and that's
is that Carson?
No, Zaylen.
Oh, Zaylen,
Harris,
okay.
Yeah. So he had an ankle injury in the Perrysburg game, and he was having a heck of a game on the defensive side. And, we're going to miss him with a high ankle sprain.
I look at you, Raw. You're from when I was, obviously, it does seem like we're down some players. Are
Yep.
you still doing the full? Well, you don't have any freshmen on here either, though, which a lot of people have on their rosters. This is all sophomore, junior, and seniors. But do you have any freshmen dressing up?
Yeah, we do. We have four
Four?
freshmen,
Okay.
skill guys, and it's a very we're trying to keep the freshman team intact and not have to pull any
Right.
of them like we did with Caden Holmes and Anthony Van and those guys. It's a very special freshman group, and
This group right now?
the freshmen currently.
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
this is like the Holmes and
Oh, yeah.
that class?
Yeah, we got kids that we can compare to make those comparings, but it's nice that we want to keep them together.
Well, the problem was with that group, the senior class that was just not deep and really wasn't very
Yeah.
athletic,
Yeah.
other than Dontrez Brown.
Yeah.
He was really the only athlete, and so you
Yeah.
had to play some of those
Yeah,
freshmen.
I mean we did, but obviously it paid
it really paid off.
great dividends to us because of the fact that
3-year
they-
run.
Yeah. So, right now, I mean, in the Perrysburg game, we had Zeb Zucker go down in the second series of the game, who's our right guard, and so we had to replace him, and then we had Kalen Miley, who didn't get to play, who's one of our better offensive linemen, who's committed to Kent State. We moved him over to play defense because Perrysburg was just running it down our throat. So we had to get big bodies in there. So we didn't have Katie Miley in the second half on the offensive line. And then Cole Myers was splitting time in there on the
Okay.
defense as well. And so we didn't have Cole. So we were playing with 3 backups, in the whole second half. And I'm like, ooh.
Well, I was watching the highlights, and you said they basically just ran the ball, right? Pretty much?
Yeah. Basically, Perrysburg, they're big, fast, and strong, and they have numbers, and that's something we don't have as much depth and everything in which they have. And they're a fine old football program, and we struggled. It was a physical. Our kids didn't give up though, but they tried battling, but they're playing one ways, and we got
Right.
kids playing both ways, and not that we want to. It's just the way it is right now.
Well, you got the nice win over Sandusky the week before, 21-14. Obviously, that was kind of a game that was up until the end.
Yeah.
It could have been anyone's game on that one.
Yep. They had some really good athletes at Sandusky, and we were able to hold on to that game as well. It is what it is. When you look at the schedule, we got to see how our kids are going to perform week to week, and we haven't been doing very well on the offensive side of the ball right now, and orchestrating points on the board. I think our defense has been playing fairly well. They just give up big plays from time to time, but
Well, the Columbian game, you're up 11 to what? 11-7.
11-7.
It was a weird score
I think
at the
it's
half.
11-7.
Yeah.
And we missed fourth down and 1 on the right before halftime, and the punch it in for a touchdown.
Oh, so you could have been up 18-7.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, no, it would have been 16-7.
Oh, you got the field goal.
We had the field goal.
So to add 4, so 15-7. So
Yeah.
you're up a touchdown,
Yeah.
which makes
Yeah.
a big difference. So when you look at Whitmer, obviously they always have big boys and big bodies up front. Still
Oh,
the
yeah.
same.
Oh yeah. Kenny Winters does a great job over there. Always has big bodies, and they got the low kid that's going to Ohio State at left tackle, and they got a lot of other kids. The quarterback's going to Eastern Illinois, and they got a lot of athletes. We're going to have to limit the big plays, and on offense, we just got to be able to move the ball and not turn the ball over. I think we played them really well last year. I think we gave up a total of 150 yards on defense
That's it?
against them.
Wow.
And but special teams, we had a blunder of mistakes on offense, and you're not going to beat good teams like that.
We were just talking to Ryan. When they were playing start, they gave up a touchdown, a kickoff return.
Yeah.
And they actually gave up a second one, but there was a flag on that one. So that you just can't have that.
No.
When you want to win games, special teams have to at least just limit the big play,
And-
right?
And playing against Whitmer, Kenny Winters runs the special teams.
Does he still live in Fremont here?
Oh yeah,
Yeah?
about a block away
Really?
from the stadium. Yep, good friend of mine.
Does he
and,
still onside kick all the time?
he has a pretty good kicker. I mean, he does all sorts of things.
Okay.
The kicker can put it in the end zone. He can sky kick it. he will onside it. So
The one year, the last year I did the game, we were up there. That was the year after we played Central Catholic so well, and
Yeah.
that fluke interception. Anyway, and we were so banged up when we went up there that we
Yeah.
didn't have anybody playing because of the playoffs were the next week.
Yep.
And they had that big 400-pound quarterback.
quarterback
that just
was
kept
huge.
running.
Yeah.
But anyway, I swear they onside kicked every time that game.
They-
I'm almost positive.
they're good at it.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't blame them.
It's a specialty thing, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's talk about some of the players that make Fremont Ross go. You talked about injuries, so
Yeah.
let's obviously we talk about Carson. Let's talk about the year he's having so far at the quarterback position.
Yeah, Carson's doing good. He's making good decisions. He's 29 for 49 throwing the ball. He does have 3 interceptions and 1 touchdown. You know, it's we got to give him time, and he has to be comfortable and he has to be confident when throwing the ball. And I think he's made pretty good decisions. You know, he could obviously always do better. We always look at it that he can do better.
There was a play in the Sandusky game, and I saw it on BCSN today, and he was going to run the ball, but he told the receiver, just go.
Jadrian Brown.
Yeah.
And then lobbed it up. Yep, for a
Yes,
touchdown.
that was wonderful quarterback IQ
Yeah.
right there.
Well,
so.
Jadrian and Carson have a really good bond. They've been playing together. They're both seniors, and they're both great kids. And, yeah, they had that little bond. They can just give a little signal, and off they go. But, you know, a lot of Carson's incompletes have been just drop
balls.
You know, the Sandusky game, we had a dig. That was important late in the fourth quarter. And we had a dig, and one of our receivers dropped a big third down play, and then we had to punt it away and all that stuff. So Zaylen he's our special player, and we're not going to have him this week.
Right.
But, you know, he's close to 200 yards rushing. He's the kid that can break a play at any time, and we're not going to have that. However, we're going to have his counterpart, Elijah Izagari, that's going to be carrying a load of the running game, and we're confident in him.
And Elijah's over 100 yards rushing on the year, right?
Yeah. Zaylen and him were a great 1-2 combo, and then now it's just going to be Elijah, and we'll throw Norris Brown in there, who came out his senior year and is still kind of learning.
But Carson
the
can
offense.
also run the ball.
Carson can also run the ball. We prefer not.
Right.
You know, we're down a quarterback. Our backup quarterback got hurt this week in practice, and Braylon Garza, and he won't be playing hopefully for a couple games, and we'll have him back. But I don't know. We haven't got the MRI or anything like that on his knee.
Well, I know when the one thing when I was doing Ross games, the one thing we never could do is find a running back to go with what we had.
Absolutely.
And if we ever would have found that running back, you know what I mean?
It'd been crazy,
And
right?
I mean like a sprinter type running
yeah,
back, you know.
a true.
We had fullbacks. We just didn't have running backs. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
Yeah,
So.
and Zaylen is phenomenal as a running back, and man, all he needs is a little window, and he's gone. You know, he's such a key player for our team, both offensively and defensively. And we're definitely going to miss him this week, and hopefully we'll see about next week. In the passing game, Ty Brown has become – he's also running back as well, but we
He's got
use
7
him
catches
yeah,
already?
we use him as a receiver, and he does all the dirty work across the middle, taking the tough catches, and, you know, he's fast. He's track speed fast. And, you know, we got to find ways to get the ball more to Jadrian. And so we moved him around a little bit, but we expect him to be our leading receiver, and just hasn't happened yet. You know, it's just ball hasn't went his way at all.
Are you making a more conservative effort to run the ball, obviously? I mean,
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're gonna run the ball.
Yeah.
We're gonna run the ball to set up the pass. And
when did you make that change philosophy-wise? Like,
well, I mean, I'm on the offensive side for the first time this year.
Okay.
And that's what we're doing.
I was just wondering. No,
No,
from
no,
my perspective,
it's
when
always
did you
been
make-
pass,
It has been
pass,
pass,
and
yes.
a little bit of run.
That's my point. Yeah.
No, it's now the opposite. We're running the ball to pass. So
But you also, if you can establish this, right, and you make this, a lot of people use the spread now. So this might be an advantage where you're in a pro-style offense more so, and this becomes what your system is, and then that becomes the system, right? So
it could be, but we're always gonna adjust to the personnel that we have.
Right.
You know, next year we could be passing.
Right.
You know, we got a lot of really good, skilled kids in the freshman group coming up. If they progress and do well in the summertime, and we could be passing. But it will always kind of run the ball. One thing we've always missed is time of possession, being able to keep the ball, sustain long drives, kind of like in Sandusky game. We wore them out a lot in the second half, and I think the first series after halftime, it was like an 8-minute drive.
Wow.
Which is awesome.
You take up most of the third quarter. And and you
Yeah.
score a touchdown even. That's even better.
But, you know, against teams like Perrysburg and teams like Whitmer,
It's hard to sustain drives like that.
absolutely, especially when you got kids playing both sides of the ball
Right.
when we need them, and we're going to need those big boys on the offensive line over on the defensive line. But hopefully we get a better rotation this week, you know, in the game on Friday, and be able to keep them fresh for both sides of the ball.
What about some of your big boys up front?
So big boys up front on the offensive side, we're led by Caden Miley, who's committed to Kent State.
Okay.
And then I would say Cole Myers did an excellent job at left guard for us, and he's a big boy. He's 300 pounds. We average probably about 291 on the offensive line, which is a good size for us. We're getting better and better each week.
So all of that weight room stuff?
Weight room stuff, but just being committed and understand that we need to push. We got big boys. Let's get on hat on hat and push the pile, and let our running backs kind of cut off of what their aggression is on the offensive line. Defensive line, we're led by our Marquez Williams. He has 3 sacks this year, and he's fast off the edge. And, you know, believe it or not, Carson Caden's a pretty good linebacker as well. And
wow. Now you're going to let him, even without a backup quarterback?
No, he ain't going to be playing as much.
Okay, I was just wondering.
We can't afford it now.
Yeah, not this week, right?
Not this week. And, you know, and it's going to hurt because Zaylen was a key component to our defense as well. He was a linebacker that just always flew around. You definitely you can notice. But Cade Reinick has been doing a great job. He's been hampered by an ankle injury. Didn't get to play in week 1. He's been able to play week 2 and 3. And he actually against Perrysburg, he had a really good game. Jace Freimeyer has played excellent coming up and tackling at the cornerback position. And, you know, I'm pretty happy with just how the defense is flying around. You know, they're buying in. My nephew, Cade Long, is the defensive coordinator.
Let's get talking about him in a minute.
And, you know, he's doing a pretty good job. I think they're on the field still too much, like against Perrysburg on the field too much. We got to find key stops on third downs.
Yep.
Third downs killed us in the Tiffin Columbian game. And even in the Sandusky game, their 2 big touchdowns were off 3rd and 20. And, you know, missed tackle, gone down the sideline stuff. We can't have that.
You can't have it on 3rd and long.
No.
They're down such a huge down, both
down.
awesome, offensively, obviously, and defensively.
Yes.
So Cade was here a couple weeks ago when I was here, and I got
Yeah.
to talk to him. And I was remembering that he actually was the head coach at Willard. And your brother went over to help him for a little while. But what's it like having your nephew instead of your brother now on the coaching staff?
Well, Ray's the guy behind the scenes. You know, there's no one. He watches way more film than I do.
Really?
And he still helps us a lot, but it's a lot of more behind the scenes than at the games and stuff. And Cade's smart. He's come from a pedigree of family who knows football, and he does a very good job. You know, I'm happy with what they're doing on that side. Can always be better, and, you know, we can only do so much. We can put kids in positions, and they got to perform and make plays.
They got to make the tackles. And so, well, Chad, it's great to see you. Going to be a big one this week. Whitmer, and then you got Findlay. So this is a home game, just your second home game. Then you'll go to Findlay. And then conference play, you have 2 home with Napoleon Clay. And you'll be at Southview, Wade at home, and then at Bowling Green. So that's how the season will wrap up. But hopefully a Week 11 trip to the playoffs as well. So, Chad, good to see you as always.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it. It's
Yep.
always good
We'll
seeing
see you next week.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Chad Long, head coach of the Fremont Ross Little Giants. I do want to remind you what's coming up this weekend on the BAS Sports Network. On Friday night, we do have Fremont Ross and Toledo Whitmer right here on Eagle 99. Over on 92.1 The Wolf, it's St. Francis at Clyde Friday night. WTTF has Columbus Watterson at Tiffin Columbian. LEC has Padua at Sandusky. And Coast Country will have Harvest Prep at Perkins. And then Saturday, it's St. Joe and Sebring McKinley. And don't forget tomorrow night, chicken chunks for just $7.99 right here at Frickers. And as always, kids eat free. So thanks to all my guests here tonight. We talked some Oak Harbor football. We started out with Gibsonburg Golden Bear night. And then, of course, we finished up with Clyde and Fremont Ross. So for Nick Roth running our video tonight, for all the coaches, I'm Kyle Knight. We'll talk to you next week for Clyde Flyer night here at Frickers in Fremont.